if there's no one in the audience that can relate to what was said, it's not authentic. If it didn't hit anyone in the audience,
fair to say,
who is the audience, by the way, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't hit anyone, it can't be authentic. I mean, I think that's how you prove it. But I think the technicality behind my statement is if the dialogue doesn't sound like the character that they've built.
Yeah.
Right? If we've come along now, if it's right in the beginning, then we give that character some grace. We have no idea what this character is about. But if the dialogue is British accent when you know darn well they're Southern Virginia,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Right? And so when they slip up, you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. And it just ruins it. So I think that's not authentic dialogue in a sense. I think you have to be true to the character.
That's
so
it.
I'll stop there.
Nicely put. Abby, any thoughts?
Well, I feel like that's said kind of all of the main things, really. But I think authentic dialogue is, again, sourced from the character and also from the atmosphere that they're in, because they can sound different depending on their scenario. So if they're under stress, they may say something that is a bit out of character for them. But then when you get context later on, it then may become authentic. But in terms of, it depends on the setting of your world too. Like if you're in a fantasy book and you start talking about Donald Trump, I'm going to be confused. since when was he in this book? Like, so maybe it's scenario based as well as character based would be my other argument.
So don't displace your viewer or your reader.
Yeah, that's fair. Any thoughts on this one, Lewis?
Yeah, I think they've both summed it up well. I think definitely what Michael was saying about authentic. You think authentic to the character, whereas I think you think about realistic dialogue. It's not so much about who; it's more about what. It's about where. It's about when. It's what Abby was saying about it being kind of scenario based. I think that's kind of the difference between the two.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer as well. Telltale signs, usually if it breaks the immersion and takes you out of it, then it kind of didn't serve its purpose. If you imagine watching a period piece and then they're all talking slang, it's not gonna connect, is it? But,
I want to walk away and I start speaking a different language. You know what I mean? That's how I want to feel.
Yeah, and I think a few of those fake languages made up, they even have courses and things like that now, where you can actually learn these made-up TV languages. I think
crazy business, by the way. Crazy business. No need, in my humble opinion.
But I mean, if you're having fun with the IP and you want to get in there, maybe you played Sims at one point and they had their own language.
Or Animal Crossing.
Yeah, those kinds of games. Unintelligible dialogue.
If you start speaking to me in Simlish, I'm out.
To be very clear, all language is made up, Abby.
Fair to say.
That's
you've just inherited one.
A good point.
A lot of them do originate from the same point.
True.
So are we getting into the
origins? That's just because we're humans.
Yeah. Are we going into the origins of language?
God.
I've been doing a lot of research.
I think that's
about the language families and dialects and how that spews off different suffixes, things like that. So I try to go through that much background to try to make it as authentic as possible, because making things up like that to me is a risk. Because it just might not hit, right? I mean, people are just like, I just can't get with it. I just can't visualize it. And that's just because I didn't do a great job of helping them visualize it. And for me, it's way easier. I mean, dare I say it, just cheating, just looking outside and describing what you see.
Mm-hmm. I think that, again, speaks to the idea of authentic versus realistic. Whereas if you're making it up, you might get some of the more authentic because you're thinking from the character.
True.
So you're definitely getting it from their perspective, but it might not be realistic. Whereas if you're doing it based fully on research based on like you say, like even just looking outside and just describing what you see, you might be getting the realistic, but again, it might not necessarily be authentic. So it's definitely kind of a balancing act of the two.
No, that's a good response actually, because it's the level of detail as well.
What is it, Abby? Your favorite narrator, the unrealistic or the unreliable narrator.
Yeah, the unreliable narrator is such a good concept. Love it.
But that's, I mean, Lewis, that's what comes to mind when you said that. It's like their lens could be so warped. What they're looking at, I mean, you could be next door looking out the same window, and it's just described completely different. It's kind of like the Matrix when he sees the source code and you see a redhead.
That's a good point, yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, what? You see what? I can't see any of that.
Just ones and zeros. All right, then. So have we got any bad examples off the top of your head, maybe? I come to shows where they're explaining in great detail to someone who's meant to be an expert. That usually comes to the top of my mind. So like you got an archaeologist explaining what's going on to another archaeologist who should know. Even though what they're saying might be accurate, it's kind of like just another plot device. So do we have any examples? Maybe it's a book, maybe it's TV, where the dialogue just didn't hit for you.
This kind of links heavily back to what we discussed last week. Like, I feel like there's also that link of you're describing it because you don't trust someone to figure it out. Like the example we had from last week of like that long scene in The Matrix where they're talking about the setting even though everyone's there, so they should know what they're on about. Like, it feels like maybe that sort of rogue range, or like the intro in Star Wars, where although you do need the intro in Star Wars, there's a better way to do it than how it's done, I feel.
You're not a fan of the wall of text?
Yeah, have to learn about the trade deals.
In the first minute you're seeing this thing for the first time.
How else are you going to know what's going on in the Financial Times, guys? It needs to be there.
No, it's an interesting one.
For me, I think it's the too much detail, because you're trying to be so vivid, and this again, when you're reading.
Right.
So not everyone has this issue, but I'm going to go next to actors because actors have to execute, and I think they don't always do that, right? So, but I'm going to start with, as you're reading, if an author is describing something with so much detail that I gloss over it because I don't care, done. Like, to me, I'm trying to get to, okay, what's the point?
Yeah.
And then if there is a point, then I may go back and reread it and try to understand the kit of parts of a missile. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I don't care. It's like, red wire, blue. However you got to get me there, but if that's what it needs. But when it comes to an actor, and I'll share some examples too. But when it comes to acting, to me, yelling, like when they're trying to show emotion or crying or something like that, that's the easiest way for, I think, an actor to miss the mark. Because if they have to do something that goes above and beyond than reciting words, right? And I'm not saying they're not emotional or animated when they do that, but like that next level where they have to really melt down, lose their shit or whatever, be vulnerable. Like, I mean, I've seen some real, for example, have you guys seen The Expendables?
Yes.
Every bit of acting in there was it made me cry. Tears came to my eye when I saw the very first one because I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, all the action heroes together. It must be amazing.
Yeah.
I cried the first 11 minutes watching it. I was like, this is so terrible. I was like, I'm not in it for this.
Yeah.
So I would say that, is my example of just made a movie so everyone can do something badass and every one of their fans are going to come to watch it.
Yeah, you kind of touch on a good point there, because sometimes an actor can save the script like just through acting, like the words are the same but the delivery that kind of like spills over into the message or how it's meant to come across. The example that came to my mind was Denzel in Training Day. He saved that whole film. Mm-hmm. Like, it couldn't have been anyone else that did that. So that just made me think, like, yeah, it was actually his acting. It wasn't necessarily what he was saying. It was kind of like how he's portraying this character. Like no one else could have done a better job.
Exactly. He had to submerge himself into that character, Lorenzo. I think that was his name.
Alonzo.
Alonzo. There you go. Alonzo. And dude, he nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
To the point to where, you know what, Denzel fans didn't like his character. They were like, I don't like that Denzel. And they still love Denzel, right?
Yeah.
But they were like, that character, it pissed me off, you know?
And the script was terrible.
But that's how great he was.
Yeah, if we're honest, the dialogue wasn't great. So you saying that just made me think straight away.
Very simple.
Yeah, so I wonder is there any other examples like that where maybe the dialogue's not the best, but the performance comes through and elevates the material?
I would say if you haven't seen August Osage County, that's a Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts film. It's a family. It's an Oklahoma family, and it's about them coming home because of a death. Father's dead. Sisters come home. It's a 3 women sisters. Meryl Streep's their mother. Meryl Streep is batshit crazy. Batshit crazy. Julia Roberts is the oldest, and she's going through a divorce with her husband. She has a high school kiddo who is just smoking and, you know, getting fresh with her. So she's just not in the mood, right? And her father, the way he died is really upsetting. So she has to deal with coming home to Oklahoma from like a real, you know, a city.
Yeah.
And bump up, you know, nowhere. But anyways, it all comes to a head because you spend that much time together as family in one house. Everyone has to deal with each other.
Yeah.
And the mom is on, like, when I say, you know, loco, she's on pills. She is just driving everybody up the wall because, and Meryl Streep, she just nails it.
Yeah.
And I say it because it's very simple. It's a family in a home. And I think that's the hardest thing. You're in one location and you have to vibe with everyone in that house. So when you do something like that, where literally the whole film takes place in a home and it's the same characters just in and out, to me, that is the hardest, most genuine. And I think that whole cast nailed it. The way they interacted with one another.
Yeah, I'd have to agree because the confined environment, there's not a lot of distractions. So it's like there's nothing to really hide behind, like, you know, in an action film.
Exactly.
You can direct your way out of it, but in something like that where it's really grounded and it's in a confined space, like the interactions mean a lot more. They have to carry some kind of weight. Okay, so do we have any... You got one?
Yeah, I was
okay, yeah, that's
following
fine.
on that. It reminded me of a very similar instance. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think it was like 2013, a film called Lot. And it just stars Tom Hardy as a guy who's driving all along the motorway for the entire film. And every moment of dialogue is just him speaking on the car phone to his family, to his work. And just, you're learning so much through so little. And you're getting so, like, it's completely, like, I think 90% of the shots are just his face as he's talking on the phone. And it just shows how much you're able to get out of so little.
Yeah, and that's 2013, did you say?
I think it's 2013.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. But again, it's like a good actor. He probably elevated the material. Like, to read, that might not look that interesting on the page, but someone's performance can really like transform what that is. So I think,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think again, casting, they deserve some credit as well.
We didn't get it, and we don't have to get into it right now, but we didn't talk about the films with no words. And those, to me, are so powerful.
Yeah.
When anyone can, like, and it's not just that, like, for example, you could also say a film like Apocalypto,
right,
where they use this old language where no one knows it.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know, you have to follow along. I think there's subtitles, but like my point is like there's so many films I've watched where there's no words, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. You follow along, you get it. And how do they do that?
Yeah, because that's all
That's
performance. Yeah, it's like without the words, you're having to understand more of the performance. Maybe I suppose it's the opposite of a musical in a way, where it's the whole different idea of this is a show. We're going to get the story across with a lot of words, but in a musical tone. And then you've removed the dialogue completely, and now you've just got to watch their movements, expressions. We don't understand the language, but somehow it's still connecting. So I think, yeah, that's a good point. Films with no dialogue whatsoever are a good example, ironically.
So 3-4 examples I'll just spit off. I won't explain them all, but like think about what you do here though. Right? So in the background, for example, Castaway.
Right.
Tom Hanks is alone. And so you hear the island. You just hear the noise of the island, the water, wind, storms, things like that. And occasionally when he speaks out loud. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Same thing. But then you got the ones with like the synthesizers, like Under the Skin, the one with Scarlett Johansson, the really odd one where she's walking men into this pool of substance and like basically absorbing them. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but that's an indie. But no words, just like synthesizers. And it's so eerie. Yeah. But like the synthesizers are spot on. And that's like kind of like that 80s vibe.
Oh, right,
right.
It's
always like a thriller. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like that to me, music speaks to people as well. So I think when you use sound to trigger people's emotions, that's a whole different level of communication.
Yeah, because like you said before, it's more general, more people can relate to it, to a feeling rather than just the wall of text or the dialogue. So is there an argument to say that the sounds are more impactful than the script, so like the sound design? Because we all like a good story.
It could ruin whatever you're watching or listening to.
Yeah.
Period.
Because I'm thinking, because you just mentioned the shows without dialogue, they are some of the ones that hit hardest. So even on this topic as well, is the goal of having a realistic sounding character or cast, is that more of a risk by adding dialogue?
1,000%. You're adding the human element, in my opinion. I think people prefer that, but there is the risk.
Yeah.
The risk is that it doesn't hit the way they hoped it would. And then people walk away like, that sucked. I read it. I was hoping the performance would be great.
Yeah.
It wasn't. They go back to the book.
True. Okay, so on that point as well, what is the most cringe line you've actually heard? What if I was to say that off the top of your head? And this will prove my point, because if you can't remember, it wasn't that impactful.
We're talking cringe. I instantly think Batman versus Superman. That film. God, that's my mum's name. Please. We have not just fought for the last fucking hour and a half. You scared? OMG, my mum's called the same thing. We're besties now. Give it a break.
You know what, Abby, fair to say. I don't like the DC slander, but it's fair to say.
Crazy.
In the same kind of vibe, I'm thinking Star Wars. Somehow Palpatine has returned.
It's like just the most on the nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Gone through like two whole films by this point, trying to set up the future just to bring back a guy who was killed off satisfyingly back in the original trilogy, just to give some sort of new state.
No, that's a good one, actually. Attack of the Clones gets a lot of hate.
For me, I was going to say, anytime I hear something like, I just had it. What am I trying to say? Like an emotion, like a emoji. When people say like, laugh out loud, or when people say, TBD, or you know what I mean, like things like that. When people, I'm like, dude, just say it out loud. Just use your words. But anyways, that to me is a pet peeve.
That's quite funny. I don't know if Abby, you don't do that, do you? Like, it's kind of a Gen Z thing, isn't it? Like, the LOL.
Don't label the whole group.
Oh, guys, this is a little bit offensive to me in particular. No, I'm joking. I mean, I think it depends on if you're taking the mic, probably.
Yeah.
But that's probably because I'm a sarky twat. Like, that's probably not because I'm trying to be Gen Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, fair to say.
I'm with you there, Remy. I don't particularly like it.
Well, I remember what I was going to say, like when YOLO was a thing. I was like, when people said that out loud, I was like, stop. That kind of thing. I was like,
I'll be honest, speaking as a Gen Z myself, I'm not guilty. I'm not innocent to saying "lol" a fair bit myself. So, and I do know a few friends who'll say like "lamau" or "lol" quite a bit. The worst one is because I know quite a few friends who are furries, and the worst one is when they'll go "ooh woo."
Oh wow, I haven't heard that one.
Oh gosh,
see,
yeah.
I'd be out. I'd be like, I'm sorry, come again. What is it? Could you define that? Can you use that in a sentence?
That's a new one to me. But again, back to Star Wars for a second. Do you remember the sand thing? There's a thing about you know what I'm talking about.
I don't like sand.
Yeah,
it's rough and coarse, and it gets everywhere.
Yeah, that's an example they try and use as this realistic grounding thing. Like we're talking about big space adventures, and then there's just this weird thing about sand, and that film, like, it deserves the hate it gets. To be honest. Like as someone,
I haven't watched it enough to hate it.
Like I'm telling you now, when you've got just time, when there's nothing on your watch list, I know that the watch list is increasing all the time on a weekly basis. At this point, I might say, get Star Wars in there, Attack of the Clones specifically.
God,
it's
there's nothing in my bones that makes me want to watch those films again.
It's responsible for a lot of these tropes. It's responsible for a lot of the poor ones that we talk about. And they just use them all as if they're going down a list, like, oh, let's put that in there. That's a good idea. Oh, let's do.
But I feel like, not to back Star Wars, but Star Wars was such a big thing of its time.
Yeah.
And, like, we only look back at it now and go, oh, that was awful. At the time, that was the first use of it. So, of course, it's not going to be good compared to other people's interpretation of it now.
Fair to say.
Like, to give it credit where it's due, it's one of the biggest sci-fi genres ever. So, of course, it's going to have a few bits that haven't aged well, but that's most content ever, right?
No,
I
that's
never
true.
hated it.
But you didn't like
but
it
I never
either.
hated. I never hated any of them.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Even the ones that came out in 03, 01, all that stuff. I was like, oh, this is all awesome.
Yeah.
To me, I knew nothing. Didn't even know about the older ones.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how ignorant I was when I came into Star Wars. So for me, it was like just all a new experience. And but you're right, Abby. Like the hype came came to me anytime I said, "Oh, have you guys seen this movie?" People look at me like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, got you." But I wouldn't say I like it in a sense, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
And the difference being is there's so many movies I dislike, hate it, and so it doesn't fall in those categories.
No, and again, it just gets the respect because of, like Abby just said, because it's on this pedestal as first of its kind in a lot of ways. Started a lot of trends, influenced a lot of things that came after. So we're meant to just respect Star Wars and not have anything bad to say about it.
Well,
respect your elders, please.
Please.
Come on now.
If you really want to get into it, though, I think there are the chosen ones who were elected to have their work grow the way it did,
right,
over others. So you know what I'm saying?
Are we getting into some speculation, a little behind the
speculation?
Scenes?
I can't prove this. I wasn't even born when all this took place. But my point is like
theories live on the podcast.
We got to get one in.
I'm just saying, if history were to repeat itself, which I think it does quite a bit, and if other industries are an indicator, there was probably some type of stigma at some point in time against some type of author. That's my statement.
No, I don't think you're wrong either. Like a lot of the documentaries kind of hint at some kind of, this wasn't just an organic hit. Like there's a lot of things manufactured behind the scenes, set in time as well. Everyone was watching a few channels. You guys might be too young for this, but there weren't as many channels as we have now. There was only, in England anyway, there's only like 3 channels at one point. And everyone was consuming the same media. So it's kind of a situation where everyone was more having a shared sense of reality when these big films were coming out. Like now you've got so much choice that the person next door to you, there's a chance they haven't seen half the things you've seen. Whereas that just wasn't the case even a decade ago or 15 years ago. So
and I would also say the industry reflected how small that was too, because I was reading an article about Ashley Judd. I mean, she was the it actress of the time in the 90s, coming up in the 2000s, just big hits after hit after hit with major names, and all of a sudden nothing. And why was that? Harvey Weinstein. The Me Too movement took off 20 years, or I think 15 years later after that. And how many careers he axed because women said no to him. And so things like that, like people had so much influence to where they could wreck entire careers because they wouldn't accept advances from them. Dude, those documentaries are hitting hard right now.
And again, it's like that whole industry thing. I'm kind of glad it's more decentralized now. You can make it indie. You can get a little fan base behind it. You can get really popular.
You can stay out of the limelight.
Yeah, exactly. You can just be an author. You can put your work out there and let the audience judge it. You don't have to go through, the traditional kind of system to, get them to put the machine behind you and make you seem like you're the biggest thing in the world. And then next year you just completely disappear.
Well, to be clear, you meet the gatekeepers, the higher up you go. There's some people that will come out of nowhere and just say, hey, I see what you're doing, but you're not going to go any further than this unless you become my friend.
No, and it's true.
And you want to avoid that.
It's true because even in a lot of a lot of villains and that kind of thing, it's always the same like setup. Those kinds of scenarios where someone's doing really well in the career, advancing, get to a certain point and they're like, oh, that's real. That's what this is. That's why I can't just, do my thing and be a star. But yeah. Okay, so
they say kiss the ring, I believe is the term.
This is what they say. But for my next question, a practical tip now for the audience. How can they convey that a character's lying in the dialogue without them stuttering or just telling a bad lie? How do we convey that? So back to Abby's favorite thing, the unreliable narrator. How can some writers get that across without using the typical things like a stutter or just a bad lie?
I think you can embed a lie into a truth quite easily. People do it all the time. If you can make it sound believable when you're that far into the story, if you're whichever perspective you're wanting that person to lean in on, then only 90% of it has to be the truth.
Right.
It's still a lie. So I think you can use a lot of things that are true and the things that your characters know to your advantage to manipulate them into believing you.
True. Narrative design.
Yeah, following on from that, I think conviction is absolutely key to it, because I think some of the biggest and most impactful villains are the ones that make you believe they're right, or make people in that story believe they're right. Like I don't want to try and relate it to politics or anything, because I know there's gonna be people that'll make comparisons to that, like political promises and everything. But in just talking in fiction, like storytelling, like if you write a character with such conviction that you can even make them be more popular than the main character because of what they're saying,
right,
and the way they're saying it is coming across, then that's the way you've written a really good antagonist, villain, whatever.
people respect it, or they respect the character.
The conviction, they believe. Yeah, you believe them because they believe it so much. It's kind of that thing.
Well, you always stay in character. If I'm hearing you right, Lewis, he was like, no, that character has never not fallen out of character. We expected this of that character, and that character followed through to that very nature. Did I misinterpret that?
Give enough background that you can understand why they feel that way. Even if you don't relate to them, you can go, yeah, but, you know, under different circumstances, maybe I'd feel that way as well.
Yeah.
It's all about their background, them, the reasons for, not necessarily that you have to agree.
No, it's kind of like Lewis just said again, like, that conviction's hard to... You can't really fake that, so it goes back to the whole discussion of authenticity, because you're like, even if they're wrong, they believe this. And then it kind of radiates off them. It's almost like those evangelical preachers on the TV and stuff like that. Even if you're not a religious person, you can get swept up and carried away, and you get your credit card out and you send them the money and all this kind of stuff because of the conviction, the level of conviction they have. You're like, this guy, he's not faking this. This is an act. And that's just another way as well. Yeah, conviction's a good technique. Give the character some conviction, man. Get everyone believing.
My response would be, I like it when it's clever. I like the sleight of hand type of lying. So, for example, the easiest way I think to show a character is lines of dialogue is that character, you believe that character at face value, but the person in their entourage, right, did the glance over at something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not even a furrowed brow, just the look of, oh, I didn't know you were going to say that. You know, there's something there. That's the tell. It's like, okay, something that person said was off. Then you just start pulling the strings from there. That kind of thing to me is like nice. Yeah. But also I love when there's only one detail missing, right? So Abby, you're right. To me, it's got to be all truths. That's the best lie. Okay. And so what I mean by that is you tell the person exactly what happened. You just didn't tell them when it happened. You know what I'm saying? You're like, nope, it happened just like this. I love those stories. Yeah. And they walk them through and they're like, how did I not catch you? And they're like, because you thought it happened this year. It actually happened 2 years ago. Yeah. And it's you know what I mean? It's that the truth, kind of thing. But it's placed differently. I like that technique. Okay, so on that same subject, now I'm going to try and get a bit into the book. Have you used this in the book? Like in the first manuscript, will there be this kind of subversion of the truth? Like maybe in the later chapters. I know early on we get some like misdirection in terms of what the expectations of where it starts and where it goes to. But would you say you've used that in your own work as well? I would say I like the word misdirection, but I would say that's the least amount of what I do. Okay. And in my writing, it's more so you're just ignorant. You're learning with the characters, and that's kind of, you don't know what if you learned the real thing or not. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's life. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, I thought it was this, and they were like, nah, who taught you that? And you're like, this guy, and they were like, yeah, nah. So when you have that moment happen, that was a lie, right? Yeah. But everything about it, you know what I mean? It was like, no, that's the right stuff. It's just that's last year's model. We've changed. Yeah. And you're like, so I don't even know the current model. Right, got it. That kind of thing. To me, that's honestly, that's not what I'm doing, but that's the type of atmosphere this is. It's like you just have to be careful who your friends are, and then you have to realize who you are to your friends, because sometimes you're lying to your friends and you're not really, thinking you are, or you're not trying to, right? Yeah. And now that I can tell you, because there's a lot of relationships, I'll say in the first installment, right? Because everyone's meeting each other, and so Marcos has a love interest, and he has his group. His love interest is very interesting, though, right? And you're like, she's in a different group. And at the end of it all, she is in a different group.
Yeah.
And so it's like he's trying to juggle, and his crew is like, you don't get to juggle, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're a part of your group, and we're not with her.
I like that.
So that kind of thing.
Okay, because again, and it's finding that balance as well. Because again, back to the dialogue. Because how much of that would you feel comfortable revealing just through dialogue? I can tell from obviously our interactions and that kind of thing. You'd rather it be like a breadcrumb, like, okay, there's some interest there, but it's not someone in front of the audience telling them this is how I feel, this is how. So it's more like more subtle
innuendos.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah.
So through dialogue, I literally use the type of slang that I believe the character would use.
Right.
Right. And I think every generation, no matter who you are, uses a slang, uses some type of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And so I try to just like, all right, if I am a 40-year-old Black woman, what would I say in this moment? That's how, you know what I mean? What slang would I say?
Yeah. So it goes back to authenticity.
And so it goes back to authenticity. And then I get to deep dive and I'm like, yo, all right. And then I think about my mom and I'm like, dude, what did she used to say back in the 80s type thing? Like what did I hear growing up? So I get to bring in my childhood too. But other than that, I research it. I'm like, and that's where I have people fact check me.
Yeah.
I try not to use so much different language to where it's like making everyone have to look stuff up. But if I use a word choice, right, I have it translated right next to it. But still, it could be a word there. You're like, I just want to look that one up. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. So you want the curiosity gap where they're going to go and do that on their own time. If they want, it's there, but it doesn't break the story. If they don't.
Exactly. And to answer your question about how the characters interact in the story, it's facial expressions.
Yeah.
Especially this is a Black culture. And so it's definitely it's blunt environment in there. Everyone's very direct with each other. There are a lot of directness in there. And it's also a lot of facial expressions of like, did you just say what I think you said? Or I know you're not looking at me. There's there's a lot of, religious customs in there, where still there's culture that I bring to the table, cultures that I've, my friends have shared with me from their culture, that I bring into this. And so I use that, not a non-verbal communication.
That's the one. And again, just on a similar topic, is there a space for the small talk? Like in a horror where it's used to build the tension and make things seem normal. Like, what do you think about that, Lewis? Is using small talk?
It's hard to say because I think again it is a very situational thing where like you if you want small talk's definitely something you use to make things feel natural, something you use to make feel realistic. But again, it's about time and place. Like, you're not going to use it like right in the middle of a huge spectacle scene, or in the middle of like you're talking about horror there. Like, if you're being hunted by a killer, that is not the time for small talk. Like, that is something that's where you get the sort of thing. Like, these characters are so stupid. Like, that's one of those situations. You want to use it like. In the build-up, I can see small talk being quite interesting because it helps to sort of show the dynamics between characters. Yeah. But I think when you're getting deeper in, there's less and less of a space for it.
No, that's a good answer. Tension builder, if used correctly. What do you think about it, Abby? What do you think?
I think it can, in the sense of unlocking depth of your characters. Right. So, for example, I read a lot of thrillers, that sort of genre. And a lot of them follow like a specific detective, for example. So as you have small talk between other detectives in the office, things like that, they do generally talk about their lives, but that's more in the perspective of this is going to be important later on.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a girlfriend. Oh,
Right.
he's trying to murder my girlfriend. What a
Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
Like, it's more to then give you like crumbs and clues of this is going to be important later, or to make the character feel more authentic. So if they have got a partner at home, they're not just a lonely drunk detective that you would know and love. Or like, the main thing I can think of in a horror scenario is like Until Dawn. They all went to school
Right,
together, so they
yeah.
do have general, like, they've met up the summer.
Yeah.
So to build that connection of, oh yeah, we did all go to school together, to make it believable, you do have that small talk of, oh, that teacher was so annoying,
Yeah.
to then get you to believe that they were all mates in school because they have topics that are common, or
Yeah.
you know, they dated each other and it's now awkward. Like, you learn the relationships and build the depth, like Lewis was saying, through that sort of layer of small talk. But those crumbs can be important for later on, for
Yeah.
like decision-making factors, like Until Dawn. Like, oh, that one's my ex-girlfriend, but that one's my girlfriend. Who am I going to save?
Yeah.
You know, is the love attachment still deep enough that I'm going to save my ex rather than my current?
Probably not.
It's more... No, you'd like to hope so, right? In those sorts of scenarios.